All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Tuesday 10X interview. For over 15 years, every Tuesday, 9 o'clock, I have been interviewing top producing mortgage professionals, really with the goal of putting on the best sales meeting in the mortgage industry. So, Jonathan McKinnies, are you game and ready to put on the best sales meeting on Tuesday, January 21st, going on?
Yes, sir. Let's do it. Looking forward
Let's
to it.
Let's do it, man. So it has been years since I've interviewed Jonathan. I had met him, God, I don't know how many years ago, but my son was in a lacrosse tournament at Notre Dame, and I was there, and I was like, "Hey, who's the top mortgage coach in this city?" And I came across Jonathan, who at the time you were a grandmaster. You'd done over 1,000 TCAs, South Bend, Indiana. Tell me about your mortgage practice. Tell me about what kind of volume you're doing. If you're a branch leader, just walk us through your model.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, it's been a while, and Notre Dame almost pulled it off yesterday.
Yeah.
But it was good game.
Congratulations on the season. You
Yeah,
guys really had an incredible season.
it was pretty cool, pretty magical here for a moment. But looking forward to next year now. So, but no, I appreciate it. With regard to production, I am a producing branch manager. We are a retail shop. Work for a company called Hallmark Home Mortgage, just small regional. Close to like $1 billion company. My branch that I manage is last year we did like about a little over 130 million. We have a goal in 2025 as a branch with a total of 11 loan officers, myself included. Our area to try to do about 185 million. So we do very low in our South Bend market. It's actually really, we get a lot of people investing in real estate around the campus and around our area. And our average loan amounts or sales prices in our area are like in the mid 200,000 range. So very reasonable. So my average loan amounts were in that 230 range this last year, and that's what I'm expecting for 2025. Personal production, I served 215 families this last year and did close to 50 million. And the goal for 2025 is to try to close about 20 loans per month. So my personal production. So most of my day consists of just doing the loan officer activities. I've got a team of 3 people. I have a production partner, production manager on the front end. So she helps me with lead intake. And then I have my transaction manager who helps me from contract to closing, but she also is on the phones. So she'll help me with some of my lead intake as well. And then I've got a 30-hour part-time kind of, I would call her like a utility player that'll help us as well on my team for my personal production. And that's pretty much how it's set up.
What's the breakdown on first-time home buyers versus move up versus move down, versus refis? When you may not know the exact number on all three of
Yeah.
those, but give us a gut.
Yeah. So for 24, I mean, my refi business was probably only around 10%, 15% of my business. It just wasn't really existent. I've certainly set up quite a few people. I did miss some opportunities for a few people I had set up, and when the rates improved a little bit, I didn't jump on it right away. I did help some people with cash out refinances with some investment properties that were doing delayed financing, things like that. People that are going through divorces or life changes, we've helped them a lot. But first time home buyers, that still makes up a nice, significant part of our market. And so I would say for my own personal production, I would say, Dave, without looking at the numbers, I bet you I'm at about like 50% first time home buyers. We do a lot because there's a lot of affordable homes now. Even in our market, though, the first time home buyer is still priced out, and I'm still getting investors calling from California, New Jersey, New York, and other areas that I'm doing loans for, because they want that affordable opportunity as well. And so that's a big part of our business too, is working with investors. Of course, as everybody knows, that's in a retail model. You're probably, you don't have a lot of investors that's financing loans that's not charging some points, and so your financing options are still limited. We're doing some DSCR loans. We're doing some your traditional Fannie Freddie investment property loans, but I'm still working heavily with first-time home buyers. So primary residence purchases is still the bread and butter of my business.
Got it. And then what about of your first-time home buyers, how many of those were people in their 20s, really Gen Z versus millennial? What would you say the mix up is, and what's the youngest first time home buyer you can think of last year?
Man, I don't have the numbers to know the breakdown on that, but I would say the youngest. I mean, I've dealt with people that are just 20 years old, some that were just barely out of high school and able to do loans for them. So I have done very low. I mean, people in their teens, 19 years old, buying a property. I was able to help, but so that being said, I mean, it runs the gamut, Dave. But we're in a university town too, and so we're working with a lot of grad students who are first-time home buyers. They get using non-occupying co-borrower parents to help them purchase properties as well. So that is a definite part of our model, or when it comes to the ages of them. They're in their early 20s, a lot of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the data, um, and I've talked about this a lot when we talk about first home IQ, but the average age nationally has gone up last year to 38. So
Yeah.
traditionally in America, it, once upon a time it was in the 29s, and then
Mm-hmm.
for 3 decades it's been in the 31, 32. And then in 23, it went up to 35. And in 24, it was 30, 38 was the average age of a first time home buyer. So I just think, and I think there's a lot of opportunity for families, helping families get into homeownership in their 20s. Do you do anything kind of proactively to let families know, like, hey, here's some creative strategies to buy your house in your 20s? Here's how to house hack. Here's how to how parents can help kids. Do you do anything like that, or is it just like, hey, when you get referred, you work on them?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think that a lot of my business, I would just say that over 50% of my business is realtor referral. So I get a lot of my business from partnering with real estate agents. I do have another 30 some percent of my business will be past clients and current client referrals. And then when it comes to just organic, or let's say social media, or community events, things like that, I do those, but the vast majority of my business comes from once I have the lead, then I'm educating them from there. Now, I did just roll out, and I just started it actually in December. This is an idea that I received in the coaching program that I'm in, where we do, it's called Home Buying 101. And it's a Zoom call that I do once a month now. And so that's something that I've just got it scheduled out. It's on my calendar. And so now that you mention it, that's actually probably something that I would consider doing more of, where it's more community facing and kind of sharing more of that information. So that is a good idea. But I would say, to be honest, I haven't done a lot of proactive actual marketing to that, or promotion of that.
I'm going to put a link down below, everybody. I interviewed Tim Brahim with Kristen Messerly. It was either last month or the month before. It was for the First Home IQ community, but it was all about how families should help families get their kids into education. And it was all about how to promote a first-time home buying workshop. You know, what would you call it?
Home Buying 101 is a
Home Buying
Zoom.
101. He's in a college town, and literally promote that to families. And then you might also put some, whether it's in the headline, just creative, like creative strategies for Home
Yeah,
Buying 101, so that
that's
you're,
good.
you're letting people know that you're gonna learn about house hacking. You're gonna learn about co-op home ownership. You're gonna own about how to buy a duplex and triplex and leverage other people's money. I think that would be attractive
Hmm.
to parents, I would think. Um,
Yeah,
so you and I haven't talked for a while, but I saw on social media you did a site visit with Jeremy. I don't know if it was a month, 2 months ago.
yeah.
It sounded like it was awesome. I mean, I can't remember, but it was almost like you left a video. What were some of the big takeaways you got from spending a day and doing a site visit with Mr. J Force?
I love Jeremy. He's been a great coach. He coached me in our coaching group this last semester, and nothing but respect for him. So to me, the site visits, when you're going into a branch of one of your coaches and you're seeing how they run their day, one of the things that stands out to me, from a leader in our industry, is that, you know what they're doing. They're having to do the same things that they're coaching on. And so for me, I see Jeremy making his calls. I see Jeremy doing the work on leading his team, running a good team meeting. I see how he speaks. So to me, I feel like the conversations, the dialogue that he has, um, I love being around that. It challenges me, it sharpened me. And so being in that environment really helps a lot. So for me, it was great. And it wasn't even just a site visit. I mean, it's just every other week being on a coaching call with him and then learning and getting the value from, what are the things that you're struggling with? Because I would say, the best coaches are the ones that are vulnerable and transparent. And Jeremy's like that. He just tells you like it is, tells you what he's going through, shares his struggles, shares how he can get out of it, and it's really been helpful. So he was an awesome coach.
Yeah, no, I've facilitated site visits with Jeremy, and it's pretty special. And but by the way, Jonathan is a member of the core. Jeremy is both in the core and a core coach. So for anyone that was wondering, that's what they were talking about. Um, I got a call, or not a call, I got a text from Shayla Gifford on Friday, and it said, Dave, call me when you have 2 minutes. It'll be real quick. And I'm just like, okay, call Shayla. And what I learned in about a 3-minute call with her is that she had a goal. I've never heard of it. It's called the Hammer 100. And she wanted to have 100 conversations, not 100 dials, but 100 conversations in a single day. And I was one of those 100. And she just asked me for a referral. And then after I said, game, I'll get you one by the end of the day. She said, is there anything I can do to help you? I listed off a couple things. She said yes. And she was on to the next call. Have you ever have you ever talked to 100 people in a single day or known anybody that's done that?
In the core, I mean, they do something that's called, I believe it's called the circus, where it's very similar, where you're basically doing a double, we call it a greatness tracker, where typically on your Mondays, your theme days, you're calling about 40 um, realtors on Mondays. And that's very similar to, I think,
Well, I thought the
mortgage.
circus was 100 calls a day for like 3 or 4 days. Is that
It's
not
it's
right?
for the I believe it's for the week. So yeah, you're calling. I've not done it. I've not done it. But yes, I have heard it. I think Jeremy has, and some others
Oh,
have as
Jeremy,
well, or at
I
least he's
mean,
tried it. He told me he's tried it, so
yeah.
it's not easy to execute on. But that's great. You know what I'd like to find out though is how did she execute on it? Did she text everybody and say, "Hey, give me a call," or was she out?
Well,
Was it an outbound
well,
call? I'd like
I'm
to
I'm
know.
trying to get her on Zoom this week to
Mm-hmm.
unpack that and put it into the YouTube channel because I was so inspired by it that I'm going to give it a whirl on I think what day did I schedule? February 6th. I'm gonna personally do it because kind of went through my mind when Shayla did it as I like, first of all, Shayla doesn't need to be doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, what an incredible example of leading by example. Like, so I
Oh
was
man,
inspired by that. And then I started thinking about it and I'm like, man, 100 conversations like the one she had with me, like she got a lot of value and she delivered a lot of value. And then my theme of the year is be the change. Like
yeah.
that's just a phrase that I say to myself multiple times every day. And I was like, I got to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna actually give it a whirl. And for the most part, I'm gonna build a call list of about 250 people, which I did over the weekend. And then I'm going to do pretty much what Shayla did. I'm going to send that exact text to people. Hey, call me if you have 2 minutes. And then I'm going to leverage my executive assistant, Paul, to just try to have 10 conversations an hour for 10 hours.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh
so
man, it's good.
you should
That's
join me,
huge.
bro. You want
I
to
would
join me?
love that. I would love that. That's actually, to me, obviously more face to faces, break breads, and really good, valuable conversations. That's where you build relationship and you serve and you get business that way. I mean, it's just the way it is. Most people like are afraid of even being on the phone anymore. Like they're nervous. They just they don't answer, or I just need to text message them. Or I'm telling you, the text was good, but it should lead to something greater. It should lead to a deeper conversation. And what Shayla is sharing is like it's gold. That's huge.
So, by the way, anybody that wants to join me, and you don't have to do it that day, but you're gonna try to have 100 talk tos in a single day. Let me know in chat. If you're watching this in our YouTube channel, like if it's like I'm in, let us know where you're at. I may figure out some way to, I don't know, maybe in our Facebook group, have some interaction on the day that we do it. but I would love to see loan officers doing this. I mean, here's the deal, everybody listen to this. You cannot control interest rates, and there are a lot of macroeconomic things that you cannot control, but you can control your activity and you can control the quality of advice that you give to a consumer, which is an activity.
Yes.
And I truly believe that first and foremost, you got to be talking to people, whether that's via text, email, phone calls, Zoom, one-to-many
Mhm.
leveraged events. You've got to be up to bat with a lot of folks, and then you need to ask great questions, deliver a mortgage coach experience to those consumers. Um, Jonathan, how many TCAs have you created? I happen to know how many you've created this year, but I
Man,
just
you
want to.
know, you
What,
tell me.
what do
You
you what
tell
do you
me.
think? What do you
I,
think?
I I gotta imagine if we're talking about 2024, we had 215 closings and quite a few at bats. I had like over 800, close to 900 leads. I gotta imagine maybe 500,
Yeah,
maybe
well,
not.
you've created over 2,000 TCAs, and
Cool.
it looks like it's 500 and some change. So,
Yep. Okay.
yeah, yeah. So, right on. So, by the way, Lance Powell, what's up? It looks like we've got someone coming in. If you guys have questions for Jonathan throughout this top producer interview, put them in chat. So, Jonathan, you mentioned one of your goals. You want to do 20 loans a month this year, which would
Hmm.
put you at what, 240 loans for the year.
Yeah. Hmm.
What are some other goals that you have for the year? And then what are some strategies that you're implementing this year
Yeah.
to drive that success?
You know, every time I go through business planning and I get into, I plan with our loan officers and my team, and we kind of go through our vision casting and all that, what we're trying to do. I find that a lot of people always say, yeah, you know what, I need to do that. Yeah, I need to do that. And so for me, the kind of our phrase for the year as a branch is just to take action and to not overcomplicate the plans. And so for me, it's my main goal this year is to be that just better at the basics. If I'm better at the basics, if I'm really good at the foundational things, then I'm going to get more business and I'm going to take more action on those areas. I try not to chase too many shiny objects because I know that my business has been built on just the consistency of doing the same things over and over again, having a boring business. Now I am implementing some things too. So like for me, the best way for me to execute on my business is to make sure that I'm putting it in my calendar. And so I'm just trying to make sure that whatever it is that I want to do, it's got to be in my calendar so that I'm focused on it, like as an example, the home buying 101, getting in front of more consumers is a big thing for me. For me, it's a big area of growth where I need to have is being better at my VIP. So growing my non-realtor business, that's something that I've been historically weak at. I get business from non-realtors like attorneys or builders or financial planners, but my goal is to connect with more VIPs this year and getting them on my calendar as well. So that's a big part of where I'm growing. Um, I'm big into events, and so I do a partner with an investor in our area who does real estate investing and flips, and he's connected with private banking, private lenders, hard money, and things like that. So we've partnered for the last couple of years, and we do a lunch and learn. We were doing it every month, and so what we did is we're still doing that. We got on the calendar, so we're doing lunch and learns every month, and then once a quarter, we're doing a networking after hours event. So for me, it's partnering, so simplifying, partnering, so that the cost isn't so much on my shoulders, and then getting in front of more people. And so if I can connect like the networking event, that's going to allow me to, I think, hopefully connect with other whales in the area, other VIPs, and connect in a way that's going to allow me to build more relationship with them. So that's going to be a big part of the year. And then one of the things that Jeremy, and I'll turn it back over to you, but one of the things that Jeremy had me do for homework was to really dial in my database, my past clients as well. And so really bring it down to about 400 past clients and then get into a better relationship with them. And so that I'm more intentional about making those calls, my birthday calls, my 30-day, 90-day, 6-month check-in calls, my annual loan review calls as well with them. Now, I do need to recenter on my annual loan review calls with the past clients, but to me, simplifying the list helps me do better at going deep in those relationships. So that's a big part of my year.
Yeah, I would really push anyone listening to this. I've been doing a keynote, and I'll put a link to a 15-minute video that I call "Executing on the Top 5 Strategies for 2025." And one of those strategies, I think the biggest one, is move up buyers. Like who are the people in your database that have the highest propensity score and they're most eligible to move up? And then to reach out to those people with a mortgage coach and show them, like, look at what your net worth could be in 3 years, in 5 years with a move up, like vision cast for them that they can do it, and here's how they could do it. And even if they don't want to move up now, like, what has to happen in order for this to be, like, just like, I think it's called strike price for refis. Have a strike. Is it called, what's it called? Strike
Yeah.
rate. Strike
Yeah.
rate.
Strike rate. Yep. That's good.
Have a strike rate date, what has to happen for the move up. And then go out to your realtor partners and ask them, hey, who are the 5 people in your database that you think are most likely to move up right now? And I'll reach out to them. I'll have a consultation, and whether it makes sense now, like, we'll schedule this. We'll start being proactive about it. You could do the same thing with move ups. You could do the same thing where there's, families with home buying age kids, where we're not waiting for the phone to ring. We're preemptively reaching out. Now, Jonathan, I don't think you've seen this. One of the mortgage coach has evolved with Trust Engine, and we have an app that some lenders have. Like right now, it's an enterprise only app. At some point, any mortgage coach will be able to download this, but it's showing who is most eligible to buy, sell, or refinance. And one of the things that it will do is it will tell you when to do an annual review. But we think what's better than an annual review is, like, oh, move up. Like, this consumer looks like someone that could move up. Here's why we think that. In the app, we put a script, what to say if you call, what to say if you text. We make it really easy for the loan officer to reach out to that consumer. And then in the app, it integrates with Mortgage Coach, and we tell the loan officer everything they need to know about that consumer from a data perspective, to just have a more effective conversation. And it will even tell you, move down, um, rate and term eligible, streamlines, debt consolidation. Uh, it's predicting that. What are your thoughts of a tool like that? Would that be helpful?
Absolutely, man. That's gold. That's awesome. I think here's where a lot of times loan officers struggle, is that they're like, man, that's a good idea, but here's what they don't do well. They don't put together the list and the strategy to then execute. And if you've got the list almost naturally created for you, man, it's going to make it much easier for your average loan officer who says they don't have enough time to think through, like, my list of people that I'm going to be targeting. This is showing you a list already. So yeah, I think that's a great idea. Love it.
Yeah, well, what I have found in getting LOs to adopt technology is removing as much friction as possible. And putting the list together is a lot of friction. Knowing what to say to everyone. There's some
Mm-hmm.
people like Jeremy. I mean, I think he was just born knowing what to
Yeah.
say. Like, he's got a real gift of saying the right thing at the right time. But for most people, like we need a little help, myself
Yeah.
included. And so having that scripting, like the list is built, having the script, it really makes things easy. What
Mm-hmm.
are what are some of what you think are the biggest opportunities in your market, in your database this year? I mean, obviously you talked about some of that, but what else are the biggest opportunities for you?
Well, I do think positioning for a possible refinance, like you were saying. So just being more intentional about some of your clients, especially those that that you closed on when the rates were a little bit higher. So it's so important. So one main thing that I'm doing is I implemented this last year. When you're closing on loans for buyers that are, in the sevens or approaching 8%, and some of them they were already being marketed to, as everybody knows, it's a loan officer. You've got to have built into your calendar follow-ups with them, even when there's not a good opportunity. So that's why for me, I immediately implemented. I've always been doing like 30-day post-closing calls, but having multiple call dates for that, especially that first and second year of those clients that you had those higher interest rates on, we have to be really good. So for me, making sure I'm staying in touch with them. But I think taking it a step further, like you said, Dave, is really being more intentional about what's that strike rate, and then making sure you've got their buy-in. So when the market improves, you can jump on it right away, because there's going to be some windows of opportunity possibly. The other thing is, like I told you, VIPs, but I think, and I know this is not just my database, but this is my realtor partners when it comes to purchase business. And the people that I'm talking to that are in my database, is having better conversations. I think that my struggle, and I think for a lot of people, is that you're not good at either asking for business or even having that natural conversation, like what you said, Dave. And so I think honing our skills on what we say and how we say it to solicit a call to action. So that's a big part of my my conversations, even right now with my realtor partners, is and this is something that actually I learned in the core. There's a real estate agent that's doing it with his vendors. And so he's teaching his vendors to be better partners by setting the right expectations for what he expects from them. To give you an example, one realtor shared this experience with like an inspector, and he said, "Hey, this inspector, I'm giving him a lot of inspection business, but my expectation has always just been you just do a good job on the inspections, but I've never really talked to him about what else we could do to partner together." And so one of the things that I'm doing, a big opportunity that I'm jumping on right now, is teaching my realtor partners to teach their vendor partners to be better partners. And as a connection, it's allowing me to have a conversation with my real estate agents about how I can be a better partner and not just a vendor. I don't want to be one of three. I don't want to be just a guy that, hey, get your pre-approval and you look at me in that way. But we need to go a little bit further than that. And so there's basically 4 areas that this realtor coach shared with me that I thought was really good, that to set the right expectations. A lot of times we expect reciprocal business. That's the first thing. So we want to be able to refer back and forth. Well, that, and Jeremy said this to me, and I use this all the time. He says, we're downstream from the lead. The lender's downstream, the inspector's downstream, the title company's downstream from the lead when it comes to the realtor. Now, not always, because we want to get out in front of it. And this is why we reach our past clients, while we're marketing on social media, while we're doing a lot of things to get in front of the lead. We want to do that. But we still have a lot of business that comes from the realtor, the builder, other people that's referring them to us. So we're downstream from it. So what are the other 3 areas that we can do to add value to our partners? Number one, we can make big connections. So I say, I'd like to add value to you by adding more connections to your database, but I also would love for you to connect me with more people. So maybe I'm not asking for a lead, but I'm asking them for a connection. So that's the second thing that I'm trying to do. So build connections, connect me with whales, connect me with VIPs. My goal is to connect with more VIPs this year. What other VIPs do you know that I can connect with? So that's the second thing. The third is talent. So another thing I'm telling my real estate agents is, man, are you looking at hiring somebody this year? Do you want to build your team? Are you trying to get a buyer's agent on your team? Are you trying to get an LP1, an RP1, I should say, a realtor partner? If you're looking for that, I'll keep my eyes open, because I'm connected with a lot of people in the industry. And if I can help you recruit somebody, then I'll help you with that. So that's another thing that I can do to add value. And then the third thing is to co-market with them. So maybe they're doing client appreciation events. Maybe they're doing community-facing events. So we talked to them about co-marketing, not paying for their Zillow, not paying for Realtor.com, none of that stuff, but talking about things that's going to be more intentional, face-to-face type events or marketing that you can help them with. And so I bring that out and I say, well, have you had these conversations with your other partners? Have you talked to your other partners about other areas in your business that they can support you, and then you can support them? And so this is allowing me to coach them, teach them, and then set that expectation of what I'm expecting out of them as well. And, having intentional conversations is probably the most important thing right now. It really is.
So yeah, there's no doubt. How are you using social media? Is that a big part of your, marketing mix in the way that you build your brand and you bring value? Is it a little thing? How do you prioritize that? What do you do?
I was on here before. We were talking about being the digital mayor. If you remember, we talked about that years ago.
I was going to go there. I wanted to hear where you were at.
Yeah. So, we were interviewing businesses in our area, South Bend area, supporting local business, highlighting them. So we still have that. We have a page called MichianaLiving.com in our area. We're between Michigan and Indiana. We call it Michiana Living. So we do interview businesses and highlight them. I haven't personally done it as much. I was doing more of a podcast. I not doing that as much. Where my business on social media is, or my brand is just simply what I'm doing right now, Dave. I'm not near as good as a lot of other people on social. I think number one, it's oversaturated with some of the same. It looks like all the same. Some of the people that's helping produce some of these loan officers and other people's marketing looks very similar. A lot of people, but I'm just doing one video a week. Facebook, Instagram. I'm not on anything else. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on X, but I don't use it very often. But I'm doing one video a week, and I am just staying somewhat connected with people. I'm being a little bit more interested than interesting. I found that my business comes from being more interested in them. So if I'm commenting, if I'm liking, if I'm being engaged in their content, then they're going to start to see my content more on their feeds, the people that I'm trying to work with. Am I the best? Nah, I'm not the best on it, but I do believe that it's built trust, and it has helped me build my brand, and it helps me market. But I'm not near as good as other people when it comes to that.
Yeah, but I mean, I like I'm trying to be interested, and I think that's a takeaway. And you're one of the top loan officers in your city, in your market, right? Like, are you
Yeah.
yeah, you're a market leader in
Yeah.
that market, and you are the digital mayor in that market as it pertains to being mortgage professionals. But it sounds like, hey, you got to where the juice is worth the squeeze, but you've experimented, and to do more than what you're doing, it wasn't worth it, or it wasn't in your energy zone. So
Yeah, we have a digital a videographer that works for the company. And so we do highlight reels, and we do different things. And so I'll have them come in. So like they came in recently, and I just posted one today on my personal page just about, why people would use us. I talk about, trigger leads, talk about other content that's helpful. But so I'll either do it on my own phone. I'll just do a quick hit where it's not overly produced. Like I did one about just last week, I did one on the credit bureaus and removing medical debt, on credit reports. So just a real quick thing. But then I also will have my videographer come in and do a little bit more of a produced video, and they'll just chop it up. And so we'll rift here in my office, and we'll just get like 20 videos out. And then I'll just post once a week some videos. I know some people do way more than that, but that's my two kind of strategies. I'll just do some for my own camera, just do it real quick. And then I'll have my professional videographer come in and just knock out like 20 that I have canned and ready to go if I need to throw those out on social media.
well, I know I've interviewed you multiple times, and you've always struck me as, hey, you're in a relatively small town, very high touch, high relationship business, but you're very thoughtful and strategic about where and how you use technology. And I've just really felt like, hey, you really define a modern mortgage advisor. It's high touch, high tech. What to you, what does it mean to be a modern mortgage advisor? Like, how do you define that? What do you think a
Yeah.
modern mortgage advisor is?
For me, hands down, I think that our value comes from the personal touch. So, meaning having video, you're face to face, having the ability to meet with people in office. I mean, I still go to my closings, or my team will if I can't make it. So we will attend our closings in our market. It's that drivable where we can do that. And so being in front of people is important. Scheduling my face to face is very important. But here's what I also want to make sure of is we will adopt all the technology that we can to stand out. Like I do use HomeBot, I use MortgageCoach, I do use an app for people to fill out their application on their phone and upload documents. And we do hybrid closings, and we do everything that we can do to utilize technology. We use AI for our underwriting, and we allow a lot of different technology into the company as well. So we're utilizing all of that, but I never get to that place where I try to get so far down the road where I work myself out of having that personal connection with the customer. Because if we're not careful, what we do is we end up, and honestly, I think it becomes more it's not so much convenience as it can be at times laziness, or we've kind of deceived ourselves into thinking that we can be fully hands off. And when we do that, then you no longer now have a relationship. We have to have both. And so for me, the modern lender in this market I'm in is you need to make sure that you're still having a personal relationship with the client, but you're utilizing all technology at the same time. That's pretty much it. And
Yeah,
so you can't work yourself out of that.
I agree. So here's a quote I'm going to give. What is modern defined? It is the fastest, most effective way of doing something that creates the most value and convenience for a consumer. And and in today's world, like 2025, that usually means that it was created with technology and consumed on a device. I mean, you think of everything that Jonathan
That's it.
said, uh, HomeBot, it's created with tech, it's consumed usually on a computer or an iPhone. A mortgage coach experience. It's a link. It's the fastest and easiest way to give consumers advice, and then they consume that. So one of the things I'm going to push everybody to do, because the Modern Mortgage Summit is actually going to start getting promoted this week, but I want you all to go, if you haven't already, go to Modern Mortgage IQ. I'll put a link, and there's an assessment. It's free, takes about 5 minutes. Jeremy took about 10 minutes to do it because he really wanted to think through it, but it will score you on these 8 pillars of a modern mortgage advisor. So, do you have and by the way, I've interviewed Jonathan. He's got the mindset, he's got the leadership skills, he has technology, he is an advisor, he has social media, like he is modern selling, building a brand. I only assume because he's in the core that he knows about money. He knows about saving money. He knows about budgeting money. He knows about investing in money. He knows how to invest in real estate. And he knows that also well that he can actually teach it at scale. How much of your borrower consultation is there like money education as part of that?
Very often I will bring up money and reinvestment strategy, and bring up the wealth accumulator. So in the core, we talk about wealth accumulation, and of course, how real estate's number one engine or avenue for building wealth. And we go on to, we'll get into savings and how we have to make sure we have a certain amount in reserves. And then we'll go into reinvesting in their 401k, making sure they're fully funding their 401k. And then we'll dig into stocks, brokerage accounts, second homes, investment properties as well. So we'll get into all of those conversations. Actually, behind me, there's a little thing that I'll go over. It's called the wealth accumulator. So when they're in office, we can go over that with them, and right in office, and I'll kind of walk them through
Here,
the
pull
diagram.
it up real quick. Show it so people can see that, and just leave this. It's a prop in his office that helps visually drive a
Hard to see it, but
a
yeah,
strategic conversation. By
yeah,
the way, if you don't mind getting a good picture of that and sending it over to me,
yeah. I could do that.
I would love that. I've seen different versions of that, but I would love to see what yours has. Um,
Mhm.
so by the way, have you checked out not Modern Mortgage IQ, but First Home IQ? Is that
Uh,
the nonprofit?
I've seen it. I have seen that, and I'm interested in it. I've not taken enough time though, but I appreciate you bringing it back up.
Yeah, well, check it out. We would love to have you as an active ambassador. If you're on this call and you are active, either an ambassador in Modern Mortgage IQ, or you're just part of that community and you use it, let me know in chat. I just want to get a feel for how many folks on this call are active in that community. So let's do some advice case studies. I know you're always giving people coaching and advice. Why don't you describe a couple examples of where you did a consultation with the consumer and you gave them some advice?
Yeah, I can actually share. I had one right before we started recording. It's interesting. So let me just set up the story. The client is a past client that I did a loan for. Surprisingly, I think it was like 2017. So he's now with another person there. She's selling her house, and she's not on the loan. He's buying it, and they were already pre-approved with another lender because apparently she bought with another one, and so he was already connected. He had no interest in necessarily going with me, but the real estate agent referred him. So now I'm trying to build that trust again, and I'm trying to make sure that I show my value and get them to decide to work with me still. So they still haven't made the decision yet, but I think I hopefully won them over. So I did a TCA just today, and I can share it with you if you want. But
yeah, walk us through it.
Yeah, so let me see if I could do my screen share here if you don't mind. Let's see here.
I'll tell you when I see it.
Okay.
And remember, folks, if you have questions for Jonathan, put those in chat and I will get to those. Again, he's got his photo personally branded, company colors, logo, and tell us what we're looking at here.
Yeah. So with Matt, he initially, so I do mess around with this a little bit as I'm going. So I'm not going to click off of here, but I will go into the reinvestment strategy. So once I do that, I'll make the changes to the how many years they plan on being in this mortgage. And let me just show what I kind of finished with. So what I did for this particular scenario was I went over. So typically what I'll do is I've got a couple ways of setting up a loan. Normally I'll set up the loan depending on product. I might put different products in there. If they're marginal, they might be FHA, maybe conventional. I'll put both conventional, FHA, different down payment options. So sometimes my strategy based on the client and the conversation, I'll put different down payment options when we're first starting. But other times I try to give them maybe the same price point with a similar down payment, but I'll change the points. And I know that some people don't do that. They'll try not to have any conversations really too much about rates and points initially. But I felt important because he already approached me shopping. And I already told him that I can get him a lower rate with no points. And so my rate was actually a little bit lower than the bank that he was talking to. So what I did is I showed him, said, hey, here's an idea of what the rate would be with no points. But I also wanted to put on here a 1 point option and a 2 point option. The only reason why I do that is because I feel psychologically it helps people shop with me as opposed to shopping outside of me. And so if I can give them some things to shop with, tools to shop, but it's within my company, then it's going to help. So what I did is I went over the 7 1/4, 6.875, 6.625, staying on the summary page. And then I just showed them the difference in payment. So you can see the different payment, the savings calculation at the bottom here. But then what I did is I also showed him what would happen if you put a little less money down. So initially he just said, Jonathan, I just want to put $100,000 down or a little bit more than that using my girlfriend's proceeds because she was going to put some money towards the down payment. He says, but interestingly, I talked to my 401k plan administrator, and he was telling me that maybe you don't have to put as much money down. And so I told him, I said, well, you really don't, as long as your debt ratio is low enough. Let me just show you what it would look like if you put less than the $100,000 down. You just put 20% down. So your loan amount's at 300 as opposed to 275, and you don't pay any points. You're just at 7 1/4 based on this first column compared to the second column. And so what I wanted to show him on this is just simply what his net worth would be. This is something that's been really helpful for me. So what I do is I'll change the savings. So I always go to the charts here, the purple chart, the savings over however many months I choose, and then I'll go over net worth. So often I'm manipulating how many months they're going to be in the house. So I showed him initially 36 months on here. And when I showed him 36 months and I removed the far right column, it was showing which one was going to save him the most money. And it was actually very close to break even. So in other words, I was telling him, hey man, in 36 months, paying 2 points is not going to really pay off for you. It's not going to be worth it. So it may be better for you to not pay any points or pay less than points. Now this is subject to the rates coming down. So what I did earlier is I showed him, well, what would happen if you refinance and the rate went down to around 6%? So I did add a column for that. But I removed that column and I just said, well, what happens though also if you just reinvest your money? And so then I go to the net worth calculator. Now you can show how much they pay in interest and mortgage insurance over that same period of time. But what I've been finding that's been helpful for me, and it helps me take the conversation to wealth building strategies and to other areas of finance. I talk about net worth, because most of your average loan officers don't even use the phrase net worth. They don't talk about wealth. They don't talk about net worth. And so I simply just took this far right column and I'm comparing it to the left column now. So I'm saying, hey man, this one you're putting down an extra 25,000, and here's what your net worth would be over the first 15 years if you do nothing different. Now you can change this to 10 years or 5 years or whatever you want to do. And then I said, well, what if you just took that extra 25,000, you have an 8% return on investment over those same 15 years, nothing else changes. Here's what your net worth would be. So you can see there's a significant difference by reinvesting some of that money instead of putting it down. And it took my conversation away from just down payment and payment to now net worth and future opportunity. And so that was a big deal for me, Dave. And I can stop sharing right now if you want.
Yeah, well, first of all, that was a sweet scenario, and it makes me want to show one from an interview I did a couple weeks ago with a $100 million producer. You don't happen to know John Farrell by any chance, do you?
I don't think I do.
Yeah, the whole interview was all around how was he doing more jumbo loans. And now he's in Orange County, so this purchase price is going to kind of blow your mind, but the story is the same. And this story applies to every market. Like if you're watching this, this applies to every market has a jumbo size. Now in Orange County, it's higher, but he had a consumer that, was able to put, a big down payment. They could put $1 million down. And he said, well, hey, what if you just put $600,000 down and you kept 400 with the financial advisor? And he's able to show like it's not just about the rate, it's about the advice. And here's the deal. He made this realtor look like a rock star because the realtor referred a loan officer that was able to talk and show how to increase your net worth. And trust me, the financial advisor that's keeping that 400,000 under investment, he loves this loan officer. So it's never been more important, guys, that if you're watching this, that you know how to do these strategies. Another strategy I'm seeing a lot of. Do you know Patty Newby in Dallas?
I don't.
Yeah, she has a lot of customers that they're doing a move up, and she did this one where they were going from a 4 into the high 6s, and she showed them the net worth. Like, look what that is going to mean. The move up is going to mean to your net worth. So I feel like with so many people with 2, 3, 4% mortgages, that's a really important skill to have. What you just did. Do you agree with that?
That's great. That's a great idea, because you're right. Some people just assume they need to stay in that lower interest rate and they don't want to actually move up because they don't want to lose their rate. But if you can show them their net worth difference and they're looking at the overall financial picture, I think that's important. And so for me, that's a big part of why Mortgage Coach is so powerful, is because it takes the conversation down that road naturally. And then what I'm doing is I'm just trying to hone my presentation skills. Now, once I've had that conversation, I told him, I said, Matt, I just said from the bottom of my heart, man, I really want to serve you. And I believe that we'll be able to give you the most value and help you with your overall financial strategy, as opposed to just talking to you about rate. Because when I started the conversation and I didn't show him the TCA, now he was just on his phone because he was at work and he had to get off, on the side. And I said, hey, can you get in front of a computer? Because I typically like to go on a Zoom call, but I didn't. But Mortgage Coach allowed me to at least just text it to him. And then he followed along with as I was highlighting, and then I was able to walk him through everything. And I asked him the question. I said, Matt, I mean, I know that you guys were thinking about maybe going with the other lender. And you know what? I don't want to step on their toes, but I just want to ask you, do you feel more empowered? Do you feel like I was able to at least give you a little bit more value in making a proper decision now? And how do you feel about it? And so I'm just asking him that question. He says, man, Jonathan, he says, that other lender, this is the best presentation that I've ever seen. And this is even compared to when I helped him before. He probably didn't remember. And I said, that's what we do. And so I just want you to know that you're going to be in good hands, and we're going to help you not now, but later on when there's an opportunity to, of course, to refinance. But also when you find a house and you narrow, and this is a big phrase that I use, when you found your house and you narrow your search down, we need to get back together. We need to go over these numbers so that we can actually see the specifics on that particular property. And then we can go from there. Does that sound like a plan? And he said, well, yeah. And so now I know that I've at least created some glue so that when he is settling on a property, now I've at least got his commitment to keep moving forward with me at this point. So
Love it. Well, we're going into the last 10 minutes.
yep.
I interviewed JJ Mazzo yesterday. It has not hit our YouTube channel yet, but it will hit soon. And when I asked him, what are you going to do more of this year? He had a really big year last year, both with his division and his personal team. And he had some really big goals this year. And he said, I'm going to do more leveraged events. And he called out specifically Realtor Masterminds. Are you doing Realtor Masterminds? And if so, describe a Jonathan McKinnies Realtor Mastermind, what that looks like.
I do. They're actually, I swear by them. I've been doing them for years. And so there's different levels of event that I'm doing. So I think this is important. So I rolled out a new agent. I'm calling it actually, I just started I was doing it 1 year and I kind of let it fall off, but I'm doing a success in sales, or I'm calling it a real estate breakfast club. So I'm going to be inviting real estate agents that are in the business between around 3 and 5 years, or 5 years or less. And I partner me, a builder that gets realtor business, and a title company rep that I highly respect. We're kind of running this little mastermind networking group. So that is something that's totally separate, but it's kind of a different audience of real estate agents that I'm trying to just continue to keep my bullpen of new relationships built that way, because you're going to have some really high-end people that maybe haven't fully proven themselves yet, or they don't feel like they've come to themselves yet. So that one. Number two is the big lunch and learn. So bigger events, but you're not going deep with relationship. The mastermind, though, I'm actually specifically handpicking the top agents that I want to work with, that I'm in relationship with, and I'm getting about 8 to 9, maybe 7 in that 7 to 9 people. I invite them to a nice breakfast. I actually host it on the campus of Notre Dame. It's at
Nice.
it's a nice restaurant. Now you don't have to do that. I've done it really cheap, but I do it where I pay for their breakfast. They have full menu, and then we get around this table and I host it and I facilitate, and I'm asking them, what's working, what's not working. We go into transactional, we go into sales, we go into personal things that's going to help them. So I set it up. A lot of people don't feel like other agents are willing to show any of their secrets to other agents. And so how I set it up, so I do it 2 to 3 times a year with 4 different groups of agents. So I'll get in 1 week, I'll have 3 different events, and I'll probably in total have nearly 40 people that I'm in front of, or close to that. And I do that a couple times a year at least. And so it's huge for me. And I set it up. I just say, hey, the reason why you're invited is because I highly value you. I value your opinion. I value your feedback, and the other agents that are going to be in the room, they value your feedback as well. I want you to know that a mastermind is only as good as the information that's being shared. And so the reason why I'm inviting you is because I know that you have an abundant mindset. You're not one with a scarcity mindset. So I know that you're going to add value, and I know you're going to receive value. So when I'm inviting them, I'm setting that up that way. And they will, I very rarely do I have a really good real estate agent say, no, I don't want to go, or I feel like I don't want to share the information. And I try to team up the agents where I know that they're going to work well together most of the time. And it's been huge, Dave. I've been doing that for years.
Yeah, no, I can't recommend it enough, guys. We have a whole playlist around Realtor Masterminds. Stay tuned for the interview I did with JJ Mazzo. It'll be hitting soon. So any closing thoughts? Anything you want to make sure people hear before we run out of time here?
Well, number one, I would just say whatever it is that you're doing, you got to be consistent. You got to be consistent. And so for me, I think what I run into as I'm coaching people, or as I'm being coached, or as I'm leading our branch, is that the people that are the most successful are the ones that just show up day in, day out, keep doing the basic things. And I would also say that I actually am not having the best January. My January 2 years before, I had better Januaries, but my activity and my lead count has picked up greatly. And so what I think is sometimes loan officers get so caught up in the lag measures of closings and deals that they sometimes get into a funk in their mind, especially this time of year, and they don't do some of the activities that's going to lead to a better February or March. And so all I would say is just stay consistent, keep doing the seed planning activities, and I mean, and do the simple things good. Do the simple things good. And that's what I'm trying to do better at, just consistent,
Yeah,
lead
well,
correctly.
yeah. And so my closing thoughts, guys, is if you are not an advisor and you're every time you deliver a price, you're not delivering advice, that is not the modern mortgage experience. And there are too many mortgage professionals out there doing that. You're really at a disadvantage and you're not delivering as much value. And then you got to make a lot of activity, So I would love to see some folks join me with this 100 conversation day, the Hammer 100. I would love to see more people doing that. Jonathan, would you share a link to that total cost analysis offline so that we can
Yep.
put that in show notes? So down below,
Yep.
you watch this on YouTube, there'll be links to some of the videos that I mentioned, some of the content that we mentioned. First Home IQ was mentioned. I would, urge you, Jonathan, to get involved. I think it would
Yep.
help you serve more families, help get more home buyers into homes. So I'll make an introduction to you and Kristen, see where that goes, and hope everybody got value from this conversation with Jonathan today. And Jonathan, any closing question? Any books or podcasts that are kind of top of mind for you right now? Anything that you're either reading or that your
Yeah.
favorite recent book that you can think of?
Man, I've been reading quite a few, but the one that I've shared a lot with my real estate agent partners is exactly what to say for real estate agents. The Full Fee Agent. Those two
Boom.
are massive. And then actually some basic ones. One book that's been helpful for just mindset is The Greatest Salesman in the World by Og Mandino. It's a classic. I mean, it's something that you should read like annually, every single year. But that book, I'm going over with our branch. We're going over each scroll in the book, but it's called the Greatest Salesman in the World. It's like, I'm sure most people have read it.
Classic. Yeah, I know
Yeah.
if you've never read it, it's a must read, but exactly what to say is pure gold in the real estate version. I'm actually going through the certification, not this week, but the following week. Todd Bookspan and Deborah Bird are going to be doing a 2-day certification on that program that I'll be attending. Sean Herrera's already signed up. JJ Mazza is going to be there. There's quite a few pretty tough people. It would be a big flight for you, but you should consider it, Jonathan. It's
Yeah.
a 2-day. Have you been through the certification? The
No,
2-day
no.
training?
Uh-uh.
You should put it on the things to do list.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And so if anybody does want to learn more about that, I'm pretty sure Todd Bookspan has a few more seats available. Either email him or email me and I'll connect you with Todd. So guys, this is a wrap. I hope you got value. Give this a like, share it with your mortgage friends, share it with your leaders. If you are a leader, um, do a branch manager meeting around this, do a sales meeting and use some of the ideas that Jonathan talked about. Thank you, Jonathan. It was great catching
Appreciate
up
it.
with you, brother.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate
All
it.
right. This is a wrap, everybody. Take care.